This is our second video for our Python tutorial. Last time we covered off a few functions. We looked at how to create variables, we looked at how to print them out, and how to pull different variables together, the difference between an integer and a character, and what those actually meant. Today we're gonna move on a little. We're going to start off by building a new function. So we're going to look at what functions are. But before we get into functions, we're going to look at how to get user input. So we mentioned at the end of the last video is we want to be able to get input in from a user and then spit it back out. Right? So this is what we're going to start with. Now, let's go into Visual Studio Code. Now, what you guys might notice is if you scroll down to the bottom here, you do have Visual Studio Code. If you didn't install with the path set up correctly, clicking on this, what that's going to do is it will give you problems. You won't be able to activate your environment. So, for example, if I open it up here and I go ahead and try a new terminal, and I type in activate my base environment, what that's going to say is, help if I could spell, right? It's going to throw up an error. Now if I type conda, which is what the terminal would use to try and activate it, again, it's going to throw up an error because it doesn't know what conda is. It doesn't actually know how to find it. So if you didn't set up with the path, so if you refer back to the video, our previous video where we installed Anaconda, if you didn't install it with the path, it's important to note that actually opening up like that isn't going to actually work for you. So what you need to do is you need to open up Anaconda. So here I've got it opened up, and you need to go ahead and launch Visual Code from within Anaconda. It's quite an important step, an easy one to miss for most people. Just keep that in mind. So here's the script we had. As you can see, we created the variables inside of our script. We're not asking the user for this stuff, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create we're going to have a new script, and we're going to do that from the ground up. So here we go. What are we going to call it? We're going to call it user input. .py. Now, because I like to remind myself what I'm doing, so let's start off with a comment. Script to get user input and push print it back to the console. Right, that's simple, that's straightforward. So here we go. We get a user input. It's a very simple command. So let's use our hello, and I got it. All it is input. And you can see Visual Code has already given me the information about what it is. So now with input, you can ask the user for something. So here we go. Give me a message. That's what I'm going to ask the user to give me, right? So here we go. I've saved it. Let's open up the new terminal. Right, here we go. Let's run it. Let's run our new function, our new piece of code. Give me a message. Hi. Now, of course, we didn't tell it what to do with that hello message. Not done anything. It's just taken that in. So our next step. Right, here we go. What this is doing is getting user input, and in the section, it's printing out user input. So print hello. Right, here we go. We run it. Hi, and there we go. It's printed it straight back out to me, and it's giving me my hi. That's great. So now we can get user input. Now, if you guys were looking at the information that was given us here, you'll notice that it's saying that it's going to read in a string. So whatever it's reading in, it's a string. Simple way in Python. Python has a nice new nice command called type. What type does is it allows me to find out what kind of type the variable is. So if I go here, so we want to print that out. So this is information I want to have. So print type, because it's a function, we need to put it within its brackets. And what I want to know is I want to know the type of hello. What kind of thing is hello? Is it a number? Is it a string? Is it a sentence? What is it, right? So let's run our program again. So hi. Now it's told me it is of class or of type string. Let's try that again. I'm going to give it a number, 12. It's still a string. Now that's very important for us to know that it is still a string. So if we were to take two of these things, so here we go, we had hello and we had world in our last one. So again, all right, here we go. That's it. I'm saying give me another message. Okay, and I'm gonna get rid of that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna comment it out. Right? Just so I'm not really worried about it for a minute. And if I go here, you guys should remember this. Hello plus world. Now, if you guys remember before, if these were numbers, it would add. So if I go here and I type, my first one is hello, and my second one is world. There we go. It's put the two together. Now this time if I go, it's 1 and 2. As you can see, it's made 12, right? It's not made 3, it's made 12. What I need to be able to do in order, if I wanted to make this thing add, I would need to actually change these things into numbers, into integers, in order to make this addition work. So that's a very important thing for us to remember, something to remember as we move through this lesson. So now here we go, we have something that's going to take in some information from our user, and it's going to print it back out, add the two things together, and show it back out. Now, as we saw in our previous one, what we want is we want to pull it out like this, right? So we can actually just copy and we can paste. Why do we want it like that? If you guys remember properly, what that will do is it will put a space in between the two things that we have. Here we go. We have a little function, a little script that is going to take some user input and pop it back out for us. What we want to be able to do is we want to convert this into a function, right? So a function, what that is it is something that we can call over and over and over again. So say I want to actually do this a few times. I want to get the user to input a few different things. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to create a function. Functions are created by doing this, and it means define. Okay, so that's what that def means, is define. We're going to define a function, define user input, right? So that is define user input and open close brackets, like we do with every other function when we're calling it. Now, we're not going to have anything to go in here right now, so for now we're going to leave it empty. Now, if we wanted to pass variables or valid variables into our function, we would put those variables in there. We're not going to do that now. You guys can play with it later. But for now, we're not going to do it. And then to tell Python that everything below is part of this function, we need to put this colon, right? Just like that. Now, what is going to happen is the way that Python knows what is actually inside its function is you do it by putting everything one little tab. And you see that line that Visual Code has drawn for me that's saying that anything within there, inside that line, all that is part of this function. If I was to go outside and I go back one, so I've just pressed backspace, you notice it's not in the line. Not everything I type here is not part of that function. So, okay, we've defined our function. Let's see if it works, right? So what we need to do is we need to just call it like that. So there's our function. See, it's found it. Okay. Now, of course, it doesn't know anything about this function. Right? We haven't given any information. We'll talk about doc strings or document strings in a different tutorial. If you guys want to have a look it up, it's called document string. So I'll put it here, doc string. If you guys want to Google that, the script will be made available to you, so you should be able to get a hold of it. Now, doc strings will give us the chance to put more information and actually when we're playing with this, we can see what the help is. We haven't got any help. So here we go. Put that in. So that's my first one. Now, because I want to know how many times I do it, print. I'm going to put a print in. Print. I'm going to call it the first. All right. Let's do that. First time I call the function. And then I'm going to print again. The second time I call the function. There we go, user input, second time. Now saved it, dot's gone. I'm going to run my code and see what happens, right? This is the first time I call the function. That's hello, world. Yeah, it's done with saying. Second time I call the function, hello, hi, world. Look, there we go, look, perfect. It's done exactly what I was hoping for. It's giving me my two different outputs, and it's telling me the first and the second time the functions are called. So we've created our first function. We learned a new function ourselves called type. It's a nice little place to stop. What I want you guys to look at next for the next lesson is about doc strings and how we use those doc strings and other ways to get user input. Do we need to do it like this? Is there other ways to actually get user input? So have fun. If you have any comments, remember, put it in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, hit subscribe and make sure you ding that bell. Stay up to date with all the new videos that are coming up. See you guys later.